that.
Oh, I've done a really good job.
We've tried mine. It's interesting.
Who cut
I've
the
got a
hair?
thing with it.
Go on, Mark.
Who cut the hair?
I did.
Well, not the top, the sides.
The whole
Sort
thing.
of
In all of his.
Oh, you've
It's
just
not.
sides.
Just round your ears.
Didn't do the ear hairs.
Okay, let's start.
Sorry.
We are going to work through Kiso Tanren tonight. Kiso Tanren. The standard set of Kiso Tanren. We'll go through them. It's probably been a while since Tuhin's done them, so we'll go through them at a reasonable pace, get them all done. So we start off with Uchiuki Naname Zenkutsudachi. Naname means slanted. So Zenkutsudachi is front knee bent stance. Naname means slanted. So the difference being, if I do it straight on, this is Zenkutsudachi. One foot facing front and one foot facing at a slight angle. If I angle this foot, this is Naname Zenkutsudachi. And my feet are parallel. This is still bent. But my feet are parallel.
Okay.
Okay? Yep. And the technique is Uchiuki.
Right.
So this is just loosen up your hips. We're going to do 20 of each technique. I'll count 10 and then Sal will count 10. So we'll do 20 of each. And then while you're doing the 20, if you have a little think, if you've got anything that you need to ask or check or anything like that, then ask at the end of the 20. And then if we need to, we can always do some more. If there's no questions or queries, we'll just move on to the next one. Okay? Ni, san, shi, go, look, chich, ach, ku, ju.
はい。
3, 4, go. 6, 8, 9, 10.
はい。
It's all in my grass.
Any queries or questions? That one? Yeah?
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Okay, just as a reminder, it's quite important that you don't go out. So it doesn't have to be like this. It's pretty much from hikite. So from the front.
Okay.
We talked about it last week. Don't bring the elbow out to try and load up the technique. You don't need to load it up because at its most basic form, this can just be the application here. As she goes to push, this is all I need to do. This is all I want to do. I just want to intersect it and redirect it, probably into my other hand so that I can then use my front hand. But ultimately, what I'm trying to do is just go from a relaxed position to here. I'm not trying to attack this limb in this instance. So I'm not trying to go here. I'm just going here. Okay? It's just a controlling technique.
Action that does it.
Okay? So if you're doing that Kiso Tanren again, here, so it's not like this. Just more subtle, much more subtle. Much more subtle. And really the key to it is in this waist movement. So if I'm standing front ways on, here, it's not even really my arm moving so much as the rest of my body. Okay? That makes sense?
Aye. Aye.
So next, Kiso Tanren is the same type of technique, but this time it's in Nai Hanchi Dash. So this time my feet are just going to be parallel here like this. My knees go out, flex over my toes, back straight. And the technique is here. And same thing. I don't need to expose all this. When ultimately, really, all I want to do is do this. Okay?
Yeah.
On Sunday, we had the pleasure of sitting in on an interview with a man called Frank Bear Sensei. He was the man who introduced Matsubashi Ryu to Canada in the 1960s. And he's 81 now. He still practices and trains and teaches in Canada. And sorry, the point of what I was going to say was, he talked about how economic Arakaki Sensei is with his techniques. So he said quite often you will see, and we've seen it ourselves as well, Arakaki Sensei will just do this. Because he's just practicing, trying to generate the most power that he can over the shortest distance. Because obviously the shortest distance takes the shortest amount of time. So if she's here, I want to try and generate power like that, not here, because the time I've gone here is the time this connects. Whereas if it's just here, and you want to try and do it to maximize the damage on the limb as well, but ultimately, it's really, if anybody's ever seen Bruce Lee's 1-inch punch, it's the same theory as that. You don't need to go like that to hit somebody. You can just do it from here. And it's in the body movement and the rest of it. So it's really the same theory. So when we're doing this Kiso Tanren here, try not to go. So if you freeze framed like that, and try to avoid that freeze frame embarrassment. If it's a freeze frame, it should be here. And then down. Okay?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Aye.
And that's actually pretty much going to run through everything that you do. Nothing's really that big a movement. Okay, so let's do that. Kiso Tanren. Ich, ni, san, shi, go, ru, shi, ach, gu, ju.
Hey, ich, ni, san, shi, go, ru, shi, ach, gu, ju, ni.
Aye.
I find that quite hard work. It's not easy to do with things like that, short and sharp, but still hard as you can. I don't know about you, but I find that quite hard. Probably harder than this.
Yeah.
So, everybody okay with that one? Any questions or comments or?
Fine.
Everybody okay? Good. Just give me a thumbs up if you're happy for me to move on, all right? Okay, next one. Nai Hanchi, Fumi Komi Ashi, which is the foot technique. in my hand. Up and down. Up and down. Up higher than the leg. Up and down. Okay? There's so many different things that you can do with this one technique, which is the same if you look at this idea with any technique. It has, Keppel Sensor used to call it front-side, backside motion. I think it was him that used to call it that. Front-side, backside motion. So, in other words, it's got this bit of the movement and this bit of the movement. And you can apply a technique, you can apply an application to any bit of that range of technique. So, let's say here, just that she's kicking. I could use the upward technique. Or I could use the downward technique. So you can, or anywhere in between. So I could actually just use it as a kick. Or behind. I could kick behind, I'll use this one. I could kick behind with the heel. So there's any part of your foot and any range of the technique that you can use to apply it. Okay, ready? Ich, ni, san, chi, go, ru, chich, ach, gu, ju,
Hey, X,
Hey.
D, Sam, She, Go, Hey, Sitch, Hatch, G, J,
Hey.
And I think the reason why I wanted to emphasise that it's not just on the up part or it's not just on the down part is because you've got to put the same amount of degree of effort in to the up and the down. So you can't go because it's not just about the downward, it might be the upward one that you need. So okay with Fumiko Miyashi?
Aye.
Okay, good. All right, let's move on. Next one. Jigo Taidachi. Wariyuki. Wariyuki. Now, we spoke about this one last week with Marco. You need to make sure that your hands, your wrist is level with your shoulder. And when you do it, don't go out with your elbows, lock your elbows in. And when you're crossing over, alternate. Alternate. And while you're doing it, and this is quite difficult, but it's a good test, a good lesson for you to try and involve your hips in the technique. So, and it's up to you how which part you put the emphasis on, but you might want to put the emphasis on the outward technique or the inward technique, it doesn't really matter. But if you find that you can apply your hips to that technique, then it's good training. So in other words, that's me exaggerating it, but you get the idea, because it's actually quite difficult to use your hips in Jigo Taidachi facing the front. It's quite easy if you're doing a punch or something like that, but if you're doing just a block in Jigo Taidachi, it's a little bit more advanced.
Yes.
So rather than, if you watch my hips, nothing whatsoever. And I could do this until my arms dropped off. It's not going to really do anything. So you watch again. You can see trying to utilize some power generation in the hips. Okay, so I'll count a little bit slower because this one is hard work. Ich, ni, sa, she, ruk, shich, two, two.
Hey,
Hey.
ni, san, shi, go, shit, hey, hey.
Hey.
Okay, how was that?
That worked. It's good.
Any success?
I think I was trying to use my hips.
Yeah, I mean, if you can at least start, if you can at least understand where we're coming from, doing it may be the next stage. At least if you can understand what I'm talking about, you can process it in your mind, and then you can start to try and get your body to follow along.
Hi.
Okay, happy to move on?
Hi.
All right. So next one, exactly the same concept. So try and utilise your hips. And it doesn't matter whether you utilise them on the up bit or the down bit, but it's this technique. And those that were there last week, if you can remember, we talked about not doing this, but bringing it up halfway, and then doing it from there. You remember that? Do you remember that conversation?
I was there.
Okay, here we go. Ich, ni, sa, she, go, ruk, ich, ach, hu, ju.
Hey,
Hey.
Hold on. For the last 10, I'll turn to the side because I also want you to get. I also want you to understand there's a curve to the technique as well. You see?
Hi.
Oh.
H, D, E, go, H, H, Q, J, hey.
Hey.
Okay. All right. Happy with that?
Hi.
So straight out of Pinan Sandan. That's that one.
Hi.
And Naihanchi, which is relevant for this week's study because we're going to be doing Naihanchi this week. It's in all of the Naihanchi as well. So, right, okay, next one. Jigo Taidachi again. Arms up. Short punch. This isn't like boxing. So this isn't like a jab in boxing. The idea of this is to twitch the hip to pull the trigger on the punching technique. So, and it's still that generating power over a short distance. So instead of just going here, no movement again. We want to be here. And then shorten the amount of time there is between that twitch and the punch. So that if we're here, let's say she's here, 2 techniques for the price of 1. 1, 2. So look how close my hand is. 1, 2. Both of them are really, the power is generated from the hip. You see? ni, san, shi, go, go, shit,
Hey. Hey.
Okay. So it's not how far that technique has to travel. It's how quickly you can cover the shortest distance.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
Happy with that, everyone?
Hey.
Okay, good. Next technique is the back fists. The technique isn't really the back fists. The technique is stretching the, what do I call them? Tendons and stuff that's in your joint. So first one, out to the, first one is to the front, second one out to the side, third one down here. Okay. Out to the front, turn him over, stretch here. Okay.
We're going to do 20 of each. It's not just one, 20 of each.
Yeah, 20 of these, followed by 20 of these, followed by 20 of these. So 60 in total. All right, let's go. Ich, ni, san, shi, go, ru, shich, hach, ku, ju.
Right, H, E, san, shi, go, look, shich, hach, ku, ju. Right,
Ich, ni, san, shi, go, ru, shich, hach, ku, ju.
Hey.
E, san, shi, go, look, shich, hach, ku, ju. Right.
Hey.
Ni, san, shi, go, ru, shich, hach, ku, ju.
Hey,
Hey.
E, san, shi, go, rick, shich, hach, ku, ju. Hey,
Hey.
Oh, they made me sweat.
This one.
Is it warm where you all are?
Very hot.
Dog won't leave us alone. He's still a bit. He needs to know where you are all the time at the moment.
Separation anxiety.
Yeah. He's probably worried that he's gonna get left again or passed off to some strange
Have you
place.
just got
Hmm?
get him? Have you just got him?
Pardon?
Have you just got the dog?
Yeah, got him on Friday.
Okay, excellent.
couldn't be without one.
Yeah, we lasted for 3 weeks without one.
I understand.
Next technique, Neko dachi.
Right.
Neko dachi. Maigeri or fukubugeri. Maigeri. Maigeri just means front kick. So maigeri is non-descriptive. Maigeri just means a kick to the front.
Yeah.
Fukubugeri means a kick to the abdomen. Kyobugeri means a kick to the chest. Kinsekigeri means a kick to the groin. Sumasakigeri means a kick with the toes. So if you think about the kick that we do in Fukugata Ni, it can be maigeri, sumasakigeri, fukubugeri. All of them are correct.
Okay.
It's a kick to the front with the toes to the abdomen. Okay, it's a bit complicated, but there you go. So, Neko dachi and maigeri off the front foot. Ich, Ni. San. Shi. Go. Look. Chich. Hach. Ku. Jin. Stop there.
Hey.
Okay. Just a quick reminder, the most important thing really with these front kicks is to make sure that before the kick starts to even come out, make sure that your knee is up. So don't start kicking from here, so it doesn't come up like this. It comes up like this, and then out, which is much more punchy and direct as a kick. So the kick, unless I was doing Kinteki Geri, if I was kicking to the groin, maybe that might be different. But if I want to kick to either the abdomen or even to the side of the leg, let's say the abdomen, what I want to do is not kick like this. I want to kick like this, because it's much more direct.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit like punching. Some styles have hikite down here. So when they're doing their chudan ski, it's always rising up.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying whether that's correct or incorrect, but in Matsubashi Ryu, with the hikite being higher, it's much more direct, which to me just makes more sense. Because it's not going around, it's the most direct route. So same with the kick. Make sure that here, then just punch out, straight forwards, it's a straight line.
Yeah.
So we've got another 10 to do with that then.
H, Ni, San, Shi, Go, Look, Shich, Hach, Ku, Jin. Hey.
Hey.
Okay, other leg.
Oh no.
H, Ni, San, Shi, Go, Look, Shich, Hach, Ku, Jin.
Hey.
She, go, right, shit, hutch, good, good, hey.
Hey.
Okay. Oh,
That's a killer.
that puffed me out a bit, that did. How was that?
On that.
Good.
Okay. Does that kicking description, does that make sense to you?
Hey,
Yeah.
Hey.
Okay, let's move on. Next one. So this is a front kick again, Maigeri, with the back foot, so out of Zankutsu dachi. So the test here is really not to rise with the body too much. Try and keep your center of gravity down. Ich, Ni, San, Shi, Go, Look, Shich, Hach, Ku, Jin.
Hey.
Hey.
Exactly the same thing as before. Make sure that from here, what's happening is this first, before the foot comes out.
H, Ni, San, Shi, Go, Look, shit, hutch, Ku, Jin. Hey.
Hey.
Other side. Ich, San, Shi, Go, Look, Shich, Hach, Ku, Jin.
Hey.
Hey.
H, Ni, San, Shi, Go, Look, shit, hutch, Ku, Jin. Hey.
Hey.
is anyone else exhausted?
Yes, I'm exhausted.
It's taken out of you.
Calm down, I'm not exhausted.
It's the heat.
God, the crap.
The heat. Okay. So the next one, side kick. So this is called yokogeri. So this could be side kick. Because the target is to the side.
Right.
You know? Anyway, in this instance, raise the knee, thrust it out. Raise the knee, put my foot, thrust it out. So I'm angling my foot. Wood edge of my foot. Sokatogeri.
Is your sensei,
Yeah.
your bouncing foot's turning as well, or is it
Yes.
on the ball of the foot?
Because you self balance.
Yeah.
Watch this foot.
Just come to get the notepad so Simon can do shopping list. I don't want to pop down Sam's.
If I try and leave it where it is, I can feel the strain on the side of my knee.
You take your knee out.
Yeah.
When we just to play with your memory,
Yeah.
when we used to do Shotokan, we used to have Yakogeri Kiyagi, Yakogeri Kikomi.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember those. And the difference between the two is that Kikomi, which is what we're doing now, which is a thrust. Kiyagi was a
Snap.
all the way up. Well, we don't do Kiyagi, we only do Kikomi.
Okay. Thanks.
And actually, and nowhere near up this high. We
To the
can
knee.
training purposes, but really the effective technique is here.
Yeah.
In which case, I actually don't need to twist so much on the standing foot because I haven't got to get the height of the hip.
Right. Okay.
But this is just training, so we can go a little bit higher. Okay, so left foot first. Ich. In. San. Shi. Go. Look. Chich. Right. Good. Good. We'll do 10 the other side now.
Ich. San. Shi. Go. Rek. Chich. Ach. Here. Yeah.
Hey.
Do it. Right. And the left knee difficult.
I mean, the good thing is we really don't need to do it high. It's in Shotokan, that technique was introduced into the Pinan kata. So quite often, Tuhin, you'll be familiar with this technique. Whereas in Matsumaku,
Don't remind me. I think I forget it.
the technique is to turn.
Yeah.
And deliver a front kick.
The only kata we actually do, Saputo Geri, is Passai, and it's down low. It's really
Okay.
Yeah.
Understand.
Okay. Now I'm going to move on to punches.
Right.
2 other kicks, but I'm not going to do them tonight. We'll do 20 single punches, and then we'll just have time to fit Fukugata Ichi in.
Right.
Okay, so we'll do 20 Chudan Tsuki. Ich, ni, san, shi, go, look, shi, ach, ku, ji.
Hey.
Ni, san, shi, go, rek, shi, ach, ku, ji.
Hey.
Okay, we've got time for Fukugata Ichi.
Hey.
Right?
You go to it.
Rich.
Hajime.
Hey.
Hey. Hey.
Yeah. How's that?
That's good. Thank you.
Good stuff. Any questions? We've got 1 minute left.
I can't speak.
That's good.
Can we send oxygen?
So, are you thinking about going back to the dojo soon?
Well, only when we're allowed to, when we're instructed. Maybe, probably July, I would have thought.
July.
We've probably still got a good month or more of doing these.
Hey.
Fine.
But yeah, it's in the back of our minds, obviously, to plan how.
Or on the field, maybe.
Yeah, we could have a few sessions on a field. I was
Yeah.
thinking actually, you know, you mentioned the Downs. I think that's a bit too far out for people that don't have cars like yourself and Sarah. So maybe
All
a
right.
playing field, we could go near to different people each time or something, just to make it fair.
Hey.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, good.
Thank you.
Good work, everybody.
Bye-bye.